8, 7, 6, go for main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff of Space Shuttle Endeavour, expanding the International Space Station while creating a classroom in space.
Roger, roll, Endeavour. Houston now controlling the flight of Endeavour. The space shuttle begins its journey back into orbit. Endeavour rolling onto the proper alignment, heads down, wings level for the 8.5-minute ride to orbit, taking aim on the International Space Station for docking on Friday. 30 seconds into the flight, the 3 liquid fuel main engines will soon throttle back to 72% of rated performance in the bucket to reduce the stress on the shuttle as it breaks through the sound barrier. This view from long-range trackers, now from a camera on the external fuel tank, showing the bird's eye view of Endeavour heading towards space. 54 seconds into the flight, Endeavour already 8 miles downrange. Standing by for the throttle up call from Capcom Chris Ferguson.
Endeavour, go with throttle up.
Go up, throttle up.
The throttle up call acknowledged by Commander Scott Kelly, joined on the flight deck by pilot Charlie Hobaugh, flight engineer Rick Mastracchio and Tracy Caldwell, Dave Williams, Al Drew, and Barbara Morgan seated down on the middeck, Morgan racing towards space on the wings of a Legacy. 1 minute, 30 seconds into the flight, Endeavour currently traveling almost 2,000 miles an hour, 14 miles in altitude, 15 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center. 3 good fuel cells, 3 good auxiliary power units, 3 good main engines. Endeavour flying straight as an arrow, 1 minute 55 seconds into the flight, standing by for solid rocket booster separation. Booster officer confirms staging a good solid rocket booster separation, guidance now converging. Endeavour's onboard computers commanding the main engine nozzles to gently swivel, aiming Endeavour for a precise keyhole in space for main engine cutoff. 2 minutes, 25 seconds into the flight. The propulsion officer reports the orbital maneuvering system engines have ignited, providing Endeavour with a kick in the pants for the next minute and a half, assisting the shuttle and its crew on its climb to orbit. Endeavour 40 miles in altitude, 59 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, traveling more than 3,400 miles an hour. Three minutes into the flight, Endeavour 75 miles downrange, traveling almost 4,000 miles an hour, 47 miles in altitude. All of its systems looking good. Endeavour flying on the singular power of its 3 liquid fuel main engines, draining a half a ton of fuel per second from the shuttle's fuel tank. Seven and a half minutes into the flight, the main engine soon will throttle down to limit the stress on the shuttle and its 7 crew members to that of 3 times the effect of gravity. Endeavour currently traveling more than 4 miles per second. At the time of main engine cutoff, Endeavour will enter its preliminary orbit at a speed of 5 miles per second. Endeavour currently traveling at 15,000 miles an hour. 20 seconds of powered flight remaining, standing by for main engine cutoff, which will be followed a few seconds later by the separation of the external fuel tank. Booster officer confirms main engine cutoff, standing by for external tank separation. External tank separation confirmed. Endeavour now in its preliminary orbit. For Barbara Morgan and her crewmates, class is in session.